Days of Future Cast is a listener-supported podcast. Head over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. A couple of bucks a month, it goes a long way to helping us grow this show as well as the network as a whole. You also get cool benefits like access to our very cool Slack channel and our very cool episodes very cool early, and also just stuff that's very cool in general. Thanks, and enjoy the episode.
I chose to think for myself instead of always playing the good soldier boy.
Ooh, them fighting words.
Don't push to believe. You always made excuses for
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we cover almost every single episode of the X-Men animated series. I don't know why I said almost. We're going to do them all. There's not one that we're skipping. Season 5, Episode 2. We're just not going to do it. Screw it.
Yep. We're gonna skip the one where they explain how they got their name.
How are you today, Gary?
You know, I'm okay. I feel like I'm medium. I was coming down with something. I'm a little bit stressed because I have some travel coming up. Got a lot of stuff to do, so I got that feeling going on.
I have the busiest schedule this week that I've had in several weeks, so I'm a little stressed out about that. But we're recording this at a different time than we usually do, so I'm having a glass of wine tonight while I'm recording a podcast, which is really unusual for me.
Wow,
I know. So if I get a little loopy, you guys will know. Also, if I just pass out and start saying racist stuff, you'll know that that's the wine and not just who I am.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Blame it all on the wine.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, tell me again that you're going to have some wine tonight.
I'm going to have some wine tonight.
Wicked. I'm trying to get into saying things like wicked and sick.
Okay.
After people say things, because I think that's a cool way to be.
Well, if you're going to do wicked, you got to do it with that Boston accent. You got to go wicked. You know what I'm saying? You got to draw it out.
I was thinking of a different kind of wicked. Let me try one more time.
Okay.
So let me know about your wine.
I've had 3 bottles of wine tonight, Gary.
Twisted.
I like that a lot.
What do you think about Twisted?
Yeah, Twisted's good because that's exactly how I feel after 3 bottles of wine. It's twisted. And also sick, so sick would have worked as well.
Yeah, three bottles of wine would make me want to die. I would be projectile vomiting everywhere.
Yeah, and not that good kind of projectile vomiting, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't feel good afterwards.
No, not at all.
I'd still be like, wine is one of the worst things to puke up anyway, man. Like, wine is... I got real mixed feelings on wine anyway. The girl I'm seeing, almost like when she drinks alcohol, it's almost exclusively wine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like every once in a while I'll be like, maybe this will be the time that I like this, and I'll try it. And like, it's not like pulling teeth or anything, but it's not something I can imagine. Just like, people are like, oh, we drank a couple bottles of wine. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of the red stuff.
Wine invariably makes me a little bit queasy in the morning, no matter. And like, I'll just put up with it tomorrow because I kind of know my limits because I'm an old ass man. I've been doing this for a while, but like it invariably will make me queasy. Whereas drinking like beer or drinking, like actual cocktails or something doesn't. So
yeah,
what is it about the wine?
Me too. Yeah, and it's a weirdly kind of like astringent taste on your tongue and stuff. It's a weird, like, I think wine is weird, right, guys?
Wine is super weird.
Yeah, I think it is weird. And there's also the culture behind it where like it is possible to be very fancy about it, but most people I know are not. It's a lot of like $11 bottles of wine. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. But also, if you want to spend $70 on a bottle of wine, you can. It feels like there's just this, like, it doesn't make sense in a way that other liquor is like, I'm like, oh, this is like aged. This is aged whiskey. And that's true of wine a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. But you can go into the store and buy like a 2013 bottle of wine that's $60.
I am drinking a 2014 Cabernet Sauvignon. So that shit is great because it's been aged for maybe, this was probably in the cardboard box I got it out of for about a year. So like this is probably 2-3 years old. The big thing when we lived in Phoenix, where there were Trader Joe's, was everybody fell in love with, all of our people from California and Phoenix fell in love with the $2 Chuck. Have you ever heard of this?
I've definitely heard of that before.
So yeah, Trader Joe's had this cheap ass wine that they made, and legend has it was just as good as the expensive stuff, but it was literally $2 a bottle. and you could buy a case of wine, which is 12 bottles for $25. Like, it was fucking ridiculous. So you know it's great, and you know it's going to taste really good, and it wasn't bad. But like, come on, guys, you can do better than a $2 bottle of wine.
It's pretty weird the way that Trader Joe's has this like little sub industry of like, one, I think that's the best grocery store for snacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
If you're looking, if you're in a
completely.
snacking mood, like, holy shit, dude! Like, you will get interesting and good snacks. Two, like, their branded boozes are not bad. Like, I bought a beer there that was like a Radler because it's been hot here, and I'm like, a Radler sounds good. And I did not realize that it was Trader Joe brand. Like, it had, you know, it was like TJ's or like, you know, Jose Joe or like, you know, some weird little, you know, play on it. And I was like, this is pretty good. And so I looked up online like a real rube. Like, you know, this makes me sound like I'm very inexperienced.
Did you take a picture of it with your Amazon app, Gary? What are you doing?
No, I just looked up the name, you know, just to be like, where can I get this stuff? And they're like, oh, this is a Trader Joe's brand. You can get it at Trader Joe's, dipshit. Like, oh.
I'm picturing you posting a picture on like a whole thread
kind of
on
dog
something
is this?
awful in the Ask Health forum, right? Like, tell me what kind of beer this is. Where did it come from?
Yeah, it's President's Choice Diet Pepper, you idiot.
It's Dr. Thunder. You got it from a garbage can. I know you did.
This is a byproduct from making Dr. Pepper.
This was the wine that was left over after we took out of normal Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Dr. Pepper is so horrible.
yeah, they should, and also they should have I was just going to say they should have like Dr. Pepper and wine being taken out of it. Made me think of carbonated wine. I was like, they should make a It's been a long day, Jeremy. I almost was just like, they should make a carbonated wine, and then realize like, oh, that's literally definitely a thing. Not like a red, you know, but you can get that's definitely a thing. So I'm not at my best.
We've
during this episode.
we've
So if you
both
start
been
saying racist shit, and I just
yeah. You're gonna get alcohol wrong, and I'm gonna be really, really mean about minorities, and it's gonna be a great. Somewhere in the middle, we got to talk about an X-Man or two, like just at least two.
that's gonna save us.
Yeah. The I completely forgot what I was gonna say. There was something with the carbonated wine there that just completely fled me. Anyway, does not
putting
matter.
wine in my soda stream.
Yeah.
Just so we're talking X-Men today. We're still in the short story zone of the season of season 3.
We're in nominally in season 3, and just to bring it up again because we've been doing it every episode, like this is when the air dates get really confusing as opposed to when they were supposed to come out versus where they did come out. So Longshot, for instance, is storied as one of the worst episodes, like the episode with the most problems because it's so animation intensive, and Gary, it shows. Like, this is not a great animated episode.
No, like I think funny things happen in this that I can definitely appreciate. I would say it is a poorly animated episode and not a good episode. But the nice thing is, and this was a weird out of order thing. Like this is from a later season, I think, right?
Yes,
Longshot. Yeah,
Longshot was supposed to air now, but was on the 5th volume, just like Obsession was, or No Mutant is an Island was from the last episode.
But the next episode is actually like great. Like it's a great episode and the other one we're talking about, Cold Comfort, which is a great episode and well animated and like really fun. Like one of my favorite, like probably my favorite fight in the series so far.
And some of the best cameos too.
Yeah, like just really fun to see. You know, for a longtime fan, it's a nice treat. So let's get into it. Episode 18, Longshot. Longshot, a rebel from another world, tumbles into this world with no memory and a murderous gang led by the 6-armed woman named Spiral, hot on his trail. It turns out that Longshot is on the run from Mojo, a maniacal interdimensional TV executive. Using Jubilee as the quote-unquote prize, Mojo and his minions lure Longshot and the X-Men into a deadly contest which Mojo broadcasts live to up his ratings.
Yeah, this is this is kind of a sequel to the Mojo world, or Mojovision, which I think was the last episode where Mojo showed up, and we still get a lot of good Mojo in this episode. Like Mojo has not like gone away or anything. Like, the voice actor is still there, and the writing is, I don't know where did they just pull this one guy to come write Mojo lines, because none of the writing is ever this good except for Mojo.
He makes jokes, which I mean I like, and we talked about it last time. Like I think Wolverine makes jokes that are funny in the show too. But for a thing that could ostensibly like have humor to it, this cartoon does not often. It is often funny in spite of itself. And it's nice to have somebody who's trying to be funny and succeeding at being funny as well.
And there's not too much, like, for all of the grandiose kind of setting for this, which is, you know, interdimensional TV executive chases interdimensional TV star across dimensions into Earth, where 15-year-old Jubilee falls in love with him. There's not much like meat on this bone to pick off. Like it's kind of just like a bunch of fights and a bunch of stuff jammed together, and then Jubilee crushes on Longshot, and then the episode is over with.
Yeah, Wolverine cockboxer.
Yeah, thankfully Wolverine there is to dad this situation up, which is really needed.
Yeah.
I think because Xavier does not care who Jubilee fucks or when she does it. I wouldn't be surprised if Xavier was the one putting this idea in her mind to begin with.
It's like, I mean, we've talked a lot about the X-Men being teenagers and fucking, and like it makes sense for Jubilee to to get a white on for like. Longshot, because Longshot I feel like is kind of the like good version of Gambit. Like he's this kind of dashing hero, but doesn't have that kind of like, he doesn't have that Dr. Thunder quality. Like Longshot is like the Dr. Pepper to Gambit's Dr. Thunder.
I can dig
so
that.
It kind of makes sense, but for some reason Wolverine is the only person who cares about whether Jubilee gets teen pregnant. And with like an alien baby, it is an alien as well. Whether she gives birth to Shatterstar. We're not right there yet, though, because before we get to that part where they inevitably the pregnancy subplot of this episode.
I don't want to derail us too early in this episode, but I actually have been reading X-Men comics recently, and specifically Wolverine and the X-Men, where he forms Jean Grey's School of Mutants or whatever. And there's a plot where Kitty Pryde just wakes up pregnant one day, like fully 9 months pregnant, and Gary full of brood.
Oh jeez.
What? And Gary, what is Kitty Pryde's power? Like, just this her basic power.
Yeah, it's a turning intangible.
So she should just be able to just turn intangible and have the brood fly out. They don't need to shrink the X-Men and have them go punch the brood in her womb out, right? Like that doesn't need to happen.
I kind of think that does need to happen. I'm kind of into that. I was just thinking, like, how does it happen in the first place when she can turn intangible? Because I get the idea that, like, maybe these things are, like, feeding on her, so there's some kind of symbiotic relationship, and when she turns intangible, they do as well. But that's not true, because she can just turn certain parts of her intangible. So, like, if she could leave the broods tangible, but that's disgusting. That's like a MTV, like, I didn't know I was pregnant thing. I'm just imagining this, like, pile of, like, broods falling out.
Yeah, and there's a plot line behind it that you don't want to hear about. Like it actually, they try to justify it, but just she literally wakes up 9 months pregnant with a bunch of brood in her tummy. Like it's fucking ridiculous. Also,
that's weird.
Kid Gladiator is there, so enjoy that.
Oh hey, finally! I've been meaning to read that comic. A lot of people said it was like the proper follow up to Grant Morrison's X-Men. So I don't know if you agree with that, but people have said that before.
I'm like 10 or 15 issues in, and then the Avengers versus X-Men global event happens. So like stuff gets dumb because of crossovers, which is I feel like happens every time I try to get into a modern X-Men comic. Like I get about 10 or 15 issues in, and there's some bullshit where I have to go read like 5 other things to understand what's going on. I don't know. Like it's good. Like it's interesting. Like the kids are cool. Like, and I've said on this show, and we've talked about it, especially with the movies. But when they have kid mutants doing kid stuff like going to school, it's always a lot of fun. So Quentin Quire is there and he's being cool. The little smart brood who's like all peaceful is there and he's pretty cool. And so the kids are a lot of fun. And seeing Serge in the Slack was recently talking about Gambit being a health ed teacher I think that's where this happens, because Gambit's in the back like teaching classes and stuff. So I haven't seen him actually explain to people how to block out their pervy thoughts about all the women from the psychics, but I'm assuming that's going to happen soon.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
looking forward to that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail us, but we talked about Jubilee getting pregnant. I just wanted you to hear about that.
Yeah, well, like Kitty Pryde was the Jubilee figure to Wolverine's life. I imagine Wolverine just got very pissed at those broods. And if Wolverine was ever in a room alone with Pete Wisdom, watch out. Like,
ooh, yeah,
that dude's getting fucking socked in the jaw. Like, it's no good. So this starts out with a weird like pilot for a new intro that's very bad.
Yes.
With a different song that's like pitch shifted up and use it. It's like they took the MIDI and chose some of the different voicing for the instruments. It's extremely bad.
It is extremely bad. I don't like anything. I haven't. I know we had one like the No Mutant is an Island didn't have this intro, so I know this isn't all of season 5. So I can only assume that it's like the back half of season 5 or something. But like, why change it at this point? Like, what are you even doing? Like, why bother?
It ruins the branding. You'd think that the idea would be just to show more kind of like, because it's made up of clips.
Mm-hmm.
It's made up of actual clips from the episodes. So maybe we're trying to emphasize that, but it doesn't work, and the song is worse.
But it did make me realize that if you go back and watch the original intro with the original song, there's like in the scene where the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants kind of run at each other to fight. We haven't seen almost any of those Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Like some of them are just not in the show that I've seen so far, and we're like 3.5 seasons in.
Yeah, I'm into that. Like I like this implication that the X-Men are just like, have always been the X-Men, will always be the X-Men. You know, yeah. So we get that intro, and then we literally, like, when you said nothing happens in this, it is just like a Longshot story that we're just cameoing in, because Wolverine is teaching Jubilee how to drive. Like, fair enough.
Yeah.
And Longshot just falls into their car.
Like, literally falls from the sky. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm a guest star.
Yeah, and he's being chased by Spiral as the intro man. And Spiral has like a group of like dogs or whatever trying to chase him down. We don't really get any context for why any of this is happening, but like Jubilee immediately jumps up and like distracts these dogs and Spiral with her, which she calls herself
Jubilee, Princess of Pyrotechnics, commands you to release the human.
Like number one, you're not a pyro person. You're just a fireworks girl, so whatever. But she tries to distract them to let Longshot kind of get away. And of course,
we can't.
Go ahead.
I mean, sorry to cut you off. There's two things that are worth noting here. One, those dogs are something called the Warwolves.
Okay.
Which are like an Excalibur villain.
Oh, really?
So it's very weird that they're here. Yeah, like those things are weirdly important.
I am weak on my Excalibur knowledge. Admittedly, I hate the British, so I've never really gotten into Excalibur.
Put down the wine, Jeremy.
Sorry, Josh Garrity. Sorry, we love you, man.
Jeremy, put down the wine. Stop. So those are the Werewolves. But the thing here about Jubilee, and like the thing that we like, I mean, that I love, is that she's calling herself the Princess of Pyro, but she's doing it in the Storm voice. Like, she is making fun of Storm. Yes. Like, she's like, I'm the Princess of Pyro Jubilee. Like, she's making fun of Storm, and I love it so much. Like, it's weird, right? Like,
yeah, we talked about this.
Do you think all the X-Men do this?
The X-Men have to be doing this all of the time behind Storm's back, right? Like, it's exactly like the episode of The Office where Jim does the impersonation of Stanley and gets in trouble. Like, it's exactly like that. And I want to hear all of these voice actors, like, if they ever do a Kickstarter to like try another X-Men animated series, and there's a tier to like, we'll record 10 seconds of anything you want. I want everybody to do 10 seconds of this, right?
of Storm doing, and just imagining just like Wolverine just being like, pass the mayonnaise, bub, by the winds of, and then like Storm comes in behind him, and like, what are you looking at? And then like the awkwardness ensues.
And the Gambit just looks at the camera and smirks like Jim.
Yeah. It's very similar. There's a magazine I used to read in my action figure collecting days called Toy Fair.
Mm-hmm.
And Toy Fair had this little thing in the middle of it where it was called Toy Fair Theater, where it was these little comics made with action figures. It was kind of like a predecessor and a more funny version than Robot Chicken, because they weren't animated, so they couldn't just be violent. Like, that's the joke of Robot Chicken, is like, what if a Smurf punched a Transformer? Like, it's a really shitty show. This was like, there were actually jokes about the properties, and whenever the X-Men showed up, it was really good. And that's the kind of joke they would do. There was a lot of them getting into like house and kitchen hijinks, and like, who ate all the cookies? And then like, you'd pan over to, Storm would be like, not me, and Gambit would be not me, and he'd go over to Wolverine and he'd have all his cookie crumbs on his mouth and be like, "Rah, rah." And like, that was the kind of like, and then it would cut to the actual serious funny plot. But whenever you checked in on the X-Men, they were doing this family shit, and this making fun of Storm's voice thing could be part of that. I feel like
it's really good, and I need to go ahead and cut that in if I can remember to do it, because oh my god, it's so funny.
Yeah, I love it.
What are
love it.
If you don't want to get it, like, we don't have to do a deep dive, but what are these werewolves thing?
My Excalibur knowledge is not great either.
Okay, cool.
I always wish that I had a little bit more, because it always looks cool to me, and they have like weird, cool side tertiary characters. They have and it always dealt with like magic. They had this character named like Farron, who was this weird mage who joined them. Like, they have these like kind of odd characters, and that's where like Rachel Summers ends up. That's where Nightcrawler shows up. Like, there's good X-Men there. Kitty Pryde, obviously. So I was meant to do a kind of a deep dive on Excalibur. My understanding of it is it's like the actual kind of lighthearted take on everything that was happening, and with the X-Men, like the counterpoint to that, where like they were like dimension hopping and would deal with like weird concepts and things. And I think the werewolves came in from another dimension. I don't think they're related to Mojo in Excalibur.
Interesting.
Like, hunted them. I think that they hunted. Yeah, they were being hunted by them. They're not the same thing. There's something called like boy, the name is escaping me. There's like a thing that's designed to kill superheroes that they dealt with as well, but it's not the werewolves. It's different than that. So,
send all your
best
correction emails to Cole@Duckfeed.tv to get that.
Yep.
So Jubilee jumps in to try to stop this fight, manages to make it happen. Wolverine is instantly distrustful of Longshot. He hates this dude from the moment he sees him. I don't necessarily think it's really even mentioned in the show that Wolverine has seen this guy before, because Longshot wasn't a part of the previous Mojovision episode. Like, he was kind of off to the side. So
he's being replaced, and this is what Wolverine, how he reacts to anybody who like shows up.
That's true.
Like, if there's somebody new, like, Wolverine hates him.
Do you remember the Pride pilot, the Pride of the X-Men pilot? Who is this kid?
Like, no dingo joining the X-Men. Yeah, pretty amazing there.
But luckily, instead
again,
of stabbing him, Wolverine just takes Longshot to Xavier to try to let Xavier do his mind magic on him and try to figure out if he's legit or not.
Yeah, they keep forgetting that they have the ability to find out any secrets they want.
It literally, why didn't Cerebro kick off as soon as like these 10 mutants come out of a fucking interdimensional portal? Where is Xavier in all this?
So they're not mutants. That's the.
Yeah, well, I meant, yeah.
Sorry to
Longshot and Spiral
are,
technically. But yeah.
I mean, well, they're the different. They're like mutants of their like different alien species, though. So like a bunch of them aren't mutants. Like, there's the weird like Magog and stuff. There's a bunch of dumb monsters that come through.
Yeah.
But Longshot and Spiral are mutants, but they're also aliens. Even though I don't think Spiral was originally, I can't remember. It literally couldn't matter less.
No.
Mojo shows up here too, and Mojo is Mojo, right? So he's here trying to get Longshot for ratings and everything, trying to get because when last we left them, Longshot got his contract renegotiated again, and has sent Spiral, and it's just kind of the Mojo gang hanging out.
Yeah, this is Dojo. This is Momo Dojo or whatever. Moto Dojo. I can't remember.
Major
Dojo.
Major Domo.
Major Domo?
No, there's no dojo.
There's a dojo. I have it right in the notes. It says dojo. You're going to tell me my notes are wrong?
I know you do. Yeah. It's Major Domo, which is a thing in the real world, Jeremy.
I know. I should have gotten that. Also, I was not drinking wine when I made these notes, so I don't know what the fuck happened. My bad. But Spiral shows back up to Mojo's universe with empty-handed because, Wolverine and Jubilee absconded with Longshot, and he's so pissed off that he starts like zapping her and like causing her incredible pain when
this is incredible. Like, he doesn't just zap her, he like ages her, advances her, and turns her into like this weird zombie thing.
It's really weird.
It's really disturbing. Like, he like, it's like she picked up the wrong chalice of the Ark or whatever. Like, she got the wrong Holy Grail, and he's just like torturing her with it because they couldn't show him just like killing her or whatever, so they had to show this much more profound torture of her Benjamin buttoning herself, like, or reverse Benjamin buttoning herself.
Sure, aging normally.
But yeah, it's really, really disturbing. And she's like crawling on the ground and like begging, trying prostrating herself to him, and it's pretty rough.
It's pretty bad. Luckily, Major Dojo, which I'm going to call him from the rest of the episode because we're not going to talk about him again after this. Major Dojo convinces Mojo to let her go and like, oh, hey, you should go to Earth and you should go take care of these X-Men. And like, as Major Domo always does, kind of makes it his idea. And, Mojo just realizes, like, kind of does this whole speech about it's his brilliant idea and he's going to get all the ratings in the world and all this stuff. Like, it's classic Mojo, and it's not bad. I kind of love it. Like, anytime this dude talks, I'm kind of in love with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's also, it's meta, because the way he says it, he's like, the last time the X-Men were on, where it was huge for ratings, like it's that, or so it's that kind of like, it's about TV, kind of thing that always happens when Mojo's around. That works.
We haven't really talked about it, but Mojo's animation and any kind of facial shot of Longshot is just fucking awful. Like all of this stuff kind of looks like it's almost like their face is trying to slide off their bodies at any time. Like they just can't get it straight for some reason. Like perspective seems off. Everything about this episode kind of looks like garbage.
It's so weird because last episode, which was also going to be in season 5, is not garbage, right? So there's got to be a story here as to why this is so trash. Like the last episode they redid. Well, I guess that's what it is. The last episode they redid it for season 5 standards. This one they didn't.
Well, this one actually did go back and forth the same way, but they eventually aired. They eventually aired it, but they kept sending it back and forth, and they never got it to the point. I think at that point the show was basically over, and they were running out of money, so they just said, "Okay, fuck it, we're going to get what we can get." Because this was apparently the worst episode to animate and to try to get done correctly.
It does look like trash. There's some still shots that are kind of fine every once in a while, and some kind of models that look just fine. But for the most part, everything looks like garbage when it moves. So their faces falling off is a good way to put it. Like everybody's got the forward Benjamin Button disease.
Normal aging.
Spiral has.
Quick aging.
Yeah.
Back at the X Mansion, Xavier is scanning Longshot's mind, and it's very clear that Longshot doesn't remember everything. Except Gary, he remembers everything. What is this plotline? Yeah. He immediately remembers the slave uprising. He remembers fighting against all of these oppressors. He remembers getting kidnapped by Mojo. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. He remembers getting mind wiped by Mojo. He remembers getting mind wiped. That's the first thing that a mind wipe should do, is prevent you from remembering a mind wipe.
That's definitely true. It doesn't because the amnesia is not an important part of the plot. Like it's literally just what if these people from a different series, it feels like, showed up and interacted with a couple of the X-Men? It's Longshot's story. It's just him you'd think this would just be one stop on him bouncing from dimension to dimension being chased. It just happens to be when it interacts with the X-Men. If this were a comic or a trade, this would be a subplot. But
this
because
would be our B-plot,
it feels so much like a B-plot. But the fact that this is a 22-minute children's cartoon, it takes up everything, because the show doesn't really do B-plots, and there's stuff to be done. There's stuff to like about what happens here, right? But it doesn't. The actual plot itself makes no sense, and it's very hard to get invested. Even though I love these characters, Longshot's my favorite X-Men. I like Mojo a lot. These are all things I really like. It's just the plot's nonsense.
It really is, and it doesn't. I don't really feel like there's any kind of sense of stakes, even when Mojo shows up to kidnap Jubilee and forces Longshot to do a TV show to win her back.
Yeah.
Even that doesn't even feel rushed or anything. It doesn't feel like there's any kind of danger whatsoever.
No, it's a weirdly boring episode, for all the kind of action in it. Because I think the stakes are supposed to be all about Jubilee's crush. Right. So Jubilee really, is attracted to Longshot. And I guess this is just the writer's way of saying that hey, Jubilee has gone through puberty.
Sure.
From here on out, Jubilee's going to get horny for guest stars.
Good. I'm glad the writers had their priorities in order when it came to this Saturday morning cartoon about superheroes that, dress up in spandex and shoot eye beams. Good job.
The weird MRA that writes the Gambit episodes. He was just by this time, there's got to be grass on the field, right? And then they're get out of here, Phil. And then,
Phil, why are you here? How did you get another key?
Yeah, we fired you. And then, the people will start talking about it, and they're like, well, you know what? It is an important time in a woman's life, her first crush. Who'd be a good crush? We can't have it be anybody who's actually on the team, because that'd be weird. That'd be a running, serialized fiction that we're not really interested in doing. We do that with these miniseries, but we don't want to have, start a relationship in the X-Men. They have to kind of reset that sitcom elasticity.
It is really nice, the couple minute scene we have with Xavier and Jubilee, where he kind of explains how a woman's body works for her. That was really nice and touching. I thought that was really
yeah. It just shows her a bunch of Georgia O'Keeffe paintings.
She's fucking Jesse Pinkman. I thought they were all gonna be about vagina, Xavier. They are.
Yeah, they are. See what I see in my mind's eye.
It's just vaginas all the way to the psychic plane.
Yeah, Professor Triple X.
Oh my! That has to be a joke that's been made before, huh? That's great.
Oh, Just to give everyone who's listening to this a peek behind the curtain, I'm recording this right after I just recorded 3 Abject Sufferings, one of which involved some pretty extensive, like, deviant art looking up to see if, like, there's got to be porn to this character, and it's a pretty obscure character. And there was. So I'm not going to look it up right now. Like, I'm sure that exists. Like, there is a Professor XXX, like, just a picture of him with, like, that in a comic book font with him standing with a gigantic boner. But I'm not interested in seeing any more cartoon dicks today. I'm good.
Fortunately for you, I've only been recording Monster of the Week, so I haven't seen any cartoon dicks. And Gary, if you Google Professor XXX, I hope you're ready to see just a lot of porn, because Jesus Christ, I don't have my safe search on, because wow.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good for now. I feel like sometime, in the next like couple weeks, I'll just be like, oh yeah, Professor XXX. And then I'll search it. But right now I'm literally full up on like iDick. Like I can't, there's nothing, I'm not grossed out by images of dick. I just don't need to see any more cartoons fucking. Like I'm literally, I'm just at capacity,
In a hilarious and completely predictable turn of events, if you turn your safe search on and Google Professor XXX, no results in Google Images. Literally, Google just says, nope, don't exist. Sorry, you're good.
I was hoping it'd be like the XXX films, and it'd be like, what a fun crossover. What if they got to team up? What kind of stories would they tell? And then you turn off the safe search and it's just like, here's the stories we tell. Welcome to Fuck Farm.
Yeah.
Wolverine, the farmer of fuck.
Yeah. And we got a real good crop.
Yeah, exactly. There's grass on the field by this point.
And the Gambit comes, I got the fertilizer, yo.
Yeah. Why are you talking about grass? I thought we talked about pubic hair with Gambit.
Please be more explicit. Gambit does not get metaphors.
Gambit no understand metaphor. He not know.
Is it like a simile? What?
Let's get the Shia to tell us about this. No?
I'm glad we're getting a lot of mileage out of this episode that has nothing to talk about, basically, because
there's no content.
If we were literally watching the episode live right now, like we would just now be catching up with where we're at talking about it, and it's nothing but like Mojo. It's just another like death trap TV show. Like he just teleports the X-Men around, and they like go fight a big giant purple lizard. Like
lots of T-Rexes, and then that Magog character who is like a character in the Longshot universe or whatever, but is not like particularly good or interesting. He's just a monster. Like he's an orc. There's a bunch of like orcs.
It's like X-Men of the Rings out here. What is Mojo doing? Like none of this even seems entertaining, even to like a 12-year-old at this point. It just all looks like garbage.
It's very strange because it is. I want to like it. I want to see like a fun action scene where like some X-Men fight a gigantic T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, whenever T-Rexes show up with the X-Men, it gets really boring really fast. Like, are the X-Men like the only thing you add T-Rexes to make it suck?
I mean, with its history of the Savage Land, the last time we saw a T-Rex, didn't Magneto like shadow the Colossus and knock it over with some steam or something? Like that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it hit it with a rock.
Yeah, well, there's one they hit with a rock, and then they didn't shadow the Colossus shit. They made him run around a geyser until the geyser happened to go off and andoy the T-Rex into leaving.
That's what it was. It didn't even knock him over. The T-Rex was like, whoa, it's humid. I got a jet.
Yeah. The storm was right about this fog shit. I gotta go.
This is not good for my skin right now, guys. I'm breaking out. I can't have a lot of moisture.
It's for some reason T-Rexes ruin X-Men.
It really does. Yeah. I wonder if T-Rex and Avengers, like that has to have happened, right? Like, and I'm sure that's probably been fine.
Oh yeah. The story, I think I might have mentioned this, but in case I missed it when we talked about the movie Logan, the comic Old Man Logan, which features dinosaurs that got the symbiote virus from Venom. That's an idea I came up with before that comic had it, where I was like,
really?
What if the symbiotes got on T-Rexes? That'd be fun. And then it actually happens in that thing, but it still wasn't fun. Like it's a pretty shitty scene in that comic too. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe dinosaurs and superhero comics just don't mix.
I mean, you would think it'd be just fun punching dinosaurs. But I guess they just can't get that right. Like, I don't know why. Like, I would like to see Wolverine slice up a dinosaur at some point. Like, maybe make a dino burger out of it or something. I don't know. Like, dude, go crazy. It's a fucking dinosaur. You're a comic book. You
could do some things with it, and they just choose not to. And Mojo can't spice it up. Mojo's weird, like, dumb monsters can't spice it up. Beast showing up can't spice it up. Beast doesn't even get any funny lines.
Yeah, he's not even annoying in this episode. Is how bad this episode is. He's not even.
Yeah,
he doesn't even get obnoxious at all.
I don't think he gets to say anything. And then Longshot, whose power is luck, like, is not operating correctly. So I don't know why that is.
Yeah, so there's this weird thing. There's a weird like MacGuffin that Wolverine and Longshot are trying to get into to like break out of this thing. I think they're trying to get to Jubilee so that they quote unquote win her, while the rest of our X-Men team are like fighting T-Rexes or whatever. But Spiral shows up, and at that point, like Longshot's luck just stops, and he's still trying to be a good dude. Like I don't know why his power would turn off right here. It doesn't make any sense. But he just like slips and falls and is a piece of shit for the rest of the episode, basically.
Do you think it's because he realized that Jubilee would definitely have no strings attached sex with him, and he was like tempted by it, and that's why his power turned off?
Oh man, yeah, his power definitely would not work if he was thinking about underage sex, huh?
Yeah,
that's
if he's just like there's grass on the field, then it goes.
Sure, yeah. They don't call me Longshot because I'm short. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Man, I guess that could be the reason. But that's pretty much the episode. Like, there's like some fights, but none of the animation is really good. Like you mentioned it earlier, Cold Comfort's going to have a really great fight scene that I can't wait to talk about. This is just kind of like people running into each other randomly, and like I said earlier, just people's faces sliding off their bodies constantly.
Like poorly animated, poorly choreographed, pretty much poorly everything you can do poorly in an episode. Like, it's not the worst episode we've done because it's like it's so slight. I think. Yeah,
it's not 5 parts of terrible episodes with Banshee screaming and fucking Professor X with the black coat on or whatever, cape on.
Yep. So I'm glad it's over. It's not as cool as we thought. Like Jubilee, it would be with the component parts. It seems like it would definitely be cool. It's not, but Jubilee gets her kiss. And there's gonna be another guest star she's gonna get a crush on here in a moment anyway.
Sure.
So, like she moves on pretty quick.
Well, I mean, she's a 16-year-old girl. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Which I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Longshot, and before we move on to the next episode, let's talk about the star of the next episode, Iceman.
These are the tales of the woods.
Iceman! I'm so excited about this, Gary. I think
Iceman's good.
Was it the last feedback episode where people were asking who was missing, and I said Iceman, and I'm just so excited that not only does he show up in this episode, but he's great, and also he's just great in general. Like, I've always loved Iceman.
Yeah, me too. I like him too, even though he is kind of like a weird, like there's obviously like he kind of fulfills a couple different purposes, right? So he's kind of like the fun kid brother or what have you. And there are things about him that they never really found like a way to use him, which is kind of a bummer. Like, whenever there's like an Iceman plot, it wasn't very good. And eventually that kind of imploded where they like made him, super repressed and, you're not actually using your powers. Like, you're an Omega level mutant, all these things where he got in with like Emma Frost and stuff, which was never that cool. I just liked him as a fun goofball who had cool powers.
Yeah, he has ice powers, and he makes an ice slide to go around. Like, he doesn't fly. He actually creates an ice slide, which seems like just so much of a waste of ice. He must look like a trail of water everywhere he goes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but his powers are that, like, he gets his ice from drawing moisture out of the air around him, right? So yeah, like he's literally stealing rain to make a slide so that he doesn't have to walk. That's what he's doing.
Fun for him.
Yeah.
He's an ecological disaster.
Great for him. Sorry about the avocados in California, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry about everything. Sorry about, the drought. Sorry about the drought. I'm Iceman.
Iceman started the drought in Texas and California.
I started a drought. Let the whole world thirsting. Yeah, it is. It's best not to think about his powers the same way that you can't think about Storm's powers and how they'd affect weather systems. Mm-hmm. Iceman would definitely do that as well. But it just seems like he's weirdly like he's very versatile for the X-Men. It's like him and Jean Grey as far as the original kind of X-Men as far as versatility. Mm-hmm. They could just like do a bunch of cool shit. Like if if you need somebody to hold up a door, if you need somebody to stop a statue from falling on people, all these things you can do with him. And it is just that personality. I think I mentioned that in that feedback episode. That's what I mentioned as well. That this is the personality we're missing, is like the goofball. Like Wolverine's kind of funny in the show. They kind of try to make Jubilee that character, but the show is so serious, as we've dealt with Cyclops just like freaking out for the last couple episodes, Archangel being really, really dark. This is, he is that antidote to this. Mm-hmm. And I love that that's a plot point in this episode we're going to talk about. Is like Cyclops not being able to handle that he is a goofball. That never happens in the comics as far as I know. But yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I really liked Iceman's original 1960s stuff, where he just kind of looked like a fuzzy, like literally
snowman?
like a snowman, and his power was basically throw snowballs at people. Like that was literally it. He was just throwing snowballs at people.
The cover of X-Men #1, where he's just hucking snowballs at Magneto.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, son.
Oh God, you made Magneto slightly more damp. Ah.
The dampening. It's the fog dampening, and then he's trying to drought him out. Drought it all out. Yeah, he's extremely good. Some of the weird variations on him, like him in the Age of Apocalypse, where he's all just made of ice. Like he's essentially like an ice elemental. He doesn't even have like human body parts anymore. Like when he can start like transforming his body into ice, it's very weird. Like it feels like it's not the same thing as being able to draw moisture and change temperature.
So I mentioned that I've been reading this Wolverine and the X-Men comic, and Iceman is one of the teachers there, and he's constantly crushing on Kitty Pryde, like he pretty much does for most of my memory of it. He's always crushing on somebody. But his power set is super weird in this comic. Like I hadn't really read anything with Iceman in the last probably 5 or 10 years, and he can like create multiple bodies of himself to fight. So there's like 8 Icemen fighting like a dude somewhere, like fighting Gladiator or whatever. And then at one point somebody knocks his head off and like picks it up, and he's still talking and like makes out with him.
It's extremely weird.
And I'm not making any of that up. It was some Shi'ar chick, like Warbird or War Woman or something, like that's making out with him. It's like, if you put yourself back together, you can come in my bedroom. And I'm like, what the fuck is the X-Men anymore? Like, why are we talking about this? But like his power set's just super strange now. When I say nowadays, I think this comic book's probably like 5 or 6 years old at this point. But yeah, it's just odd. Like I don't even know what to do with it. It's not just making slides. It's literally just I can make different copies of myself. Like he's fucking Multiple Man now. Like it's all over the place.
That's got to be what a slap in the face to Multiple Man.
Yeah, seriously.
That's my thing. I also like in the X-Men Legends PS2 game, instead of flying, he did the ice slide as well. Mm-hmm. You have the unique flying animation, and it controlled a little bit different. And you could like power it up so it did damage when you like ran into people with it. Like it was super cool.
Yeah, that's
so.
Nice.
This is a very baseline appreciation of him. So like the weird way where he's like knocking off his head and making out with Thunderbird in a room or whatever, like less into that. But just like on a purely like I like this guy's personality and his power set. Like he's a winner for me.
And it's important to mention.
People were not expecting like deep analysis, but it's
not
just
at all.
Ice is cool.
Ice is cool. He's kind of funny, and also in his off time, he's an accountant. The most boring of professions.
It's so weird that he's an accountant,
isn't it? Though it's because it comes up in this next episode where he kind of gets done with the X-Men. But yeah, he's a numbers guy. Like I think in some point in the Uncanny X-Men, the reason he's not on the team is like he's going to college to get his accountant's degree or whatever, like a major in numbers or something, which is just super weird.
It's super weird. There's that kind of tragedy though of somebody who's like just trying to get out and get a normal life, from the X-Men. It doesn't make sense for it to be Iceman because he's such a goofball. Like he's one of the only people who seems like he's having fun, out there. So like, why is he the one who's like, man, I got to get a regular life? Like that should be like Cyclops. Like Cyclops has his mission, but like he's the one who's like keeps losing wives,
keeps losing wives. Honey, have you seen Jean?
Yes.
I lost Gene again. I want to bring up too, just while we're talking, we're giving some love to Iceman, that he's probably one of the most consistently good characters in the movies, even though he's drastically underused most of the time. Like I think his powers are probably too expensive, but the guy that they got playing him, I really like. We talked about him in X-Men 1 and X-Men 2. Like he's just a solid dude in those movies. He's a solid character. So
yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy that actor.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing X-Men 3 and seeing him do Fight with Pyro during that big standoff. Since it's been so long since I've seen it.
Are you though? Are you? Are you?
Yeah, it's because I haven't all the times I've said like I'm going to revisit X-Men 3. I didn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like this, I'm still going from like original air date is the last time I've seen it. So I'm still unspoiled. Like the pure and driven snow segue into our next episode.
These are the tales of the gods.
The Cold Comfort, in which former X-Man Bobby Iceman Drake is caught breaking into a top secret government installation. The X-Men are notified of the incident, free him, and bring him back to the X-Mansion. While there, the X-Men discover that Iceman's longtime girlfriend, Lorna Dane, was kidnapped. Unsure of what Iceman will do next, the X-Men place him in a temporary holding cell before he causes any more damage. This is a very detailed description. Iceman breaks out of his restraints and goes back to the government installation to search for Lorna. What he finds will change him forever.
Do.
Yep.
I really like this episode.
This is a fave.
Not only does Iceman show up, we get a great cameo from the fucking X Factor team, like the entire X Factor team. And I haven't gone back to revisit those like 90s X Factor comics with this particular team, but I kind of want
They're
to.
good,
like,
Jeremy.
I remember really enjoying them as a kid, as a teenager or whatever. So I want to go back and reread those sometime.
They stand up.
Good.
It's like it's Peter David, who is like a good X-Men writer, or a good comics writer in general. They surprisingly stand up, and this group of characters I think is really fun. I love 90s X Factor, way more than I liked actual like 80s X-Men X Factor, like where it was all about Apocalypse and it was the original 5, because it was very melodramatic, as obviously it was, because that was when bad things happened to X-Men. In the early 90s, before Excalibur came along, X Factor was also kind of a place to like not have everything be the end of the world.
Yeah, where they could just like have a normal, not necessarily normal because it's the X-Men, but like just nothing needs to be cranked to 11 at all times.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It's a little bit muted. There was like intrigue and stuff. There's drama, but it's like the characters were fun and like funny. They were funny to each other. It had that feeling to it.
Would you say that it's cranked to 9/11 at all times? I'm sorry.
I wouldn't. Why no?
I'm trying to turn it down. I'm trying to take it down.
I'm trying to erase it. Yeah, even I wouldn't. Did I make I'm the 9/11 joke guy? Hey, it's me. In the casino.
They call me the Andrew Dice Clay of 9/11 jokes. I don't know why.
Dice Clay of comedians. Yeah. It's,
anyway,
so it starts out. So we get this little establishing shot of Iceman. He has to creep up on these two guards who like look like they're an homage to people like the writers knew or something.
Mm-hmm. They seem weirdly detailed, right? Like their faces look weirdly specific.
Yeah, it's like two of the writers, stepdads, like getting a cameo appearance, and they're talking about heat and humidity. Like it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Like just having the most boring conversation that like if anyone starts that conversation with you, walk away, don't even say anything. But then Iceman breaks in, and we get our first glimpse of our boy.
And Iceman looks great in this series. Like the animation is actually good in this one, and I think Iceman's design in the cartoon is actually really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Agreed. Yeah. This is where we get this weird explanation. So we move over to Jubilee, who, for reference, was just learning how to drive a car last episode. Mm-hmm. And so she doesn't know how to drive a car, and Xavier won't let her drive one of those little fun go-kart jets that he had. Remember on the roof with Dark Xavier?
Oh yeah.
They're called they're like mini jets, or they're like jetlets. They get a name here. They're called like the micro jets or something.
Microjet. That just sounds so fucking terrible. But if these were laying around when you were 13, 14, 15 years old, you would definitely steal one on the weekends, right? Like every single opportunity. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I would be dead. I would have crashed into a building now several times over. So
because flying is hard.
A very specific building. Because I'm the 9/11 joke guy. Anyway. Yeah. Bada bing.
The X-Men get an alarm in the middle of all this, showing that somebody is breaking into a government installation. That's our gig.
As
the episode description, which like again, like no mutant alarms, just strictly government monitoring only, which you're just a terrorist at that point. Xavier instantly recognizes Bobby and then wakes everybody up, including Wolverine, who like completely demolishes his alarm, which is always like a funny gag until you think about like his alarm budget in terms of that tweet that goes around all the time. You know what I'm saying? Somebody please help me. $1,000 a month on alarms.
He just trades cars for them. Like he never, so Xavier gives him cars. He just like takes them out to the alarm clock store and then just like walks away with his like arms overfilled with alarm clocks. Like he just waddles back to the mansion.
God, I'm going to move to Westchester and just open up the most baller used car lot right next to the Xavier mansion and just make my fortune and retire at, 30.
So they're all going off to do it. And Jubilee, of course, wants to come with because this is like her arc. These couple episodes of her wanting to be like a grown up and wanting to experience the touch of a man. And they don't take her though. And then we get the jet where Cyclops is furious at Iceman and remains so for the entire episode in a very weird way.
It's very unlike Cyclops. Like Cyclops over the last episodes has been very angry. Like Jean is dead. He hasn't really had a lot of closure about that. He's just been mad at everybody. But like even this seems weird, and he's all he's mad at Bobby for is leaving the X-Men to go like be a normal person. Like fuck you, Cyclops. Like it's my life. I don't have to be an X-Man if I don't want to.
It's very similar to how Wolverine was very hurt when Morph left. But for some reason, Cyclops doesn't give a shit when Morph leaves. He's like, that's his choice, But Bobby leaves and he fucking goes ape shit. Like, it's pretty strange. Like, probably just because Iceman's such a better X-Man. Like, he is just cooler.
Yeah, he has an offensive power instead of just making copy jokes all the time. So
yeah. He's furious, and the best will in the world. Like this is just him still being upset about his like travails in the orphanage. Like he's still mourning and all that jazz.
So the X-Men arrive at this government installation and kind of confront Bobby, who instantly gets into a fight with the X-Men and also the guards at this installation. And it's kind of called out that like, why are there so many guards at this place? Like this seems really unusual. But also Xavier, you're the one that had an alarm on it. Like obviously something's going on.
Yep.
So yeah, like there's a lot of guards. They all get into a fight together. It's actually like anytime Bobby is using his power in this episode, it's kind of fun. Like I enjoyed all of this.
Mm-hmm. It looks cool. The sound effect is good. Mm-hmm. And he has a great power for like pacification. It's not like how Wolverine can like just like not stab people. Like he can punch people, but he usually just uses his claws and shit on robots.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just ready for a robot so he can cut an arm off and put it back on again and cut an arm off and put it back on again.
You don't have to worry about Iceman killing people.
No, not at all. But they all like they finally get away from the guards and subdue Bobby and take him back to the mansion. And Xavier like demands like, what are you doing at this place? And Cyclops just like all he wants to do is punch Bobby in the face. He's not interested in this mission. He's not interested in any of the details. He's just like, screw you. I don't like you, Ice Clown. Oh shit! I just realized anyway. I don't like you, Ice Clown. Like you're a bad person. You left the X-Men. Like that's Cyclops' mode in this entire episode is just being angry at Bobby.
Like once you quit the X-Men, you're no longer the X-Men's responsibility. Even though the X-Men are mutant activists. Like that's what they do. Like, it doesn't matter they quit the X-Men. Like, he should still be interested in him, like, breaking into a government facility. What does he want to have happen? Like, we should summarily execute him and get on with our lives, guys. Like, I just don't know what Cyclops' endgame is here. It's very weird.
If Cyclops has been doing this for long enough, that he should know that there's always a motive. Like, there's a reason that Bobby was breaking into this facility. He should know that by now. And he just doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
It's not Jean, Gary. It's not Jean.
That happens the whole series, too. Like, it's anytime something happens, it's like, only Wolverine is the only one who has ever, like, maybe this isn't what it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Ever in this. And he's just kind of bemused during this whole thing. Like, Wolverine doesn't have a dog in this race, it really feels like.
Yeah, so they put Bobby, who's pretty angry, into like this anti-gravity thing because again we've stolen just so much Shi'ar tech at this point from like they can just literally do anything.
Yeah. It's so like I want the ACLU to get in on this shit. Like you can't just like grab him and then just like hold him indefinitely.
Have you watched any of the Flash TV show? I'm pretty sure you haven't, but have you seen any of that? They literally have a undisclosed prison that they just put people in. Like they put these superpowered beings in and they just keep them for months, if not years. And like, they don't ever explain how they feed them, how they clean the cells, anything. Like they just put them in there, they go away, and that's all the show cares about. It's really, really bizarre.
That's something.
Yeah,
That's real
it's weird. Jubilee, who is, the curious teenager and all this, looks up Iceman's records to try to figure out what the deal is, like why Cyclops hates him so much. And we get some really cool...
She says he's cute too. Like, she's not just curious, she's also thirsting out.
I forgot she was thirsting,
like, yeah, it's like he's good looking. Like, I like this middle-aged accountant is what does it for Jubilee.
Man, Sunfire better never show up around Jubilee, huh? She's gonna fall in love.
It's gonna be over.
So yeah, we get some original footage. We get some footage of the original 5 X-Men, and it's really good. I really like these designs in the comics. I don't necessarily read those comics a lot, but I like them a whole lot. So it's nice to see this stuff kind of animated and a reference given to it.
Yeah, and it does the thing. I mean, I keep beating this drum, but I love that like there was an X-Men before the cartoon started.
Yep.
They were around. They were doing all this stuff. It's very cool. Mm-hmm. Then we even get more where Beast kind of runs into Xavier, and they talk about how he left when Lorna Dane died, who was Polaris, who was another old X-Men. So, like, we're getting, or not died, like she almost died. So we're getting, like, this X-Men history lesson, right? I think it shows them fighting on the Super Adaptoid.
Yeah. I didn't make a note of it, but I think that's who it is. And she gets like grievously wounded, and so her and Bobby kind of take off. Like this superhero life is not for me. I got to get the fuck out of here. Which in the comic books, this is Havoc and Lorna Dane, but we're gonna meet that dude here in a minute. But like I like it being Iceman and Lorna Dane a lot.
Yeah, me too. So she, they kind of made their life together, but she was captured. So they find out like somebody broke into Bobby's apartment, or he went into her apartment to find her and found.
Well, they were living together.
Apartment trashed. Yes. Mm-hmm. It was trashed, and there was like a note or something. There was something that led him to the storage depot.
Which we're gonna find this out in a minute, but like this is just the worst thing ever. I don't know if we should talk about it. We should talk about it here in a minute, but yeah. So this makes him think that she's captured, and so he goes to hunt down, and that's where we run into him at the government installation. Jubilee, I think, hears some of this and has a lot of sympathy for Bobby Drake, so she lets him free. Because Jubilee just lets all of the X-Men's prisoners free, no matter what, even if it's Sabretooth, just gonna let him free.
Yeah, she doesn't give a fuck.
She does not give a fuck.
Jubilee gonna get hers.
Mm-hmm.
But Iceman, since he's in love with somebody else, does not give her like a pity kiss or more adult or up kiss or up. The escapes. She busts him out, and the X-Men go to the facility again. Like they're like, oh shit, like Iceman's out. We know where he's going. We have to put this guy back in a cage and stop him from exercising his right to self-govern.
Well, real quick, like Jubilee broke him out specifically because she wanted to go help him. So like he actually brings her along to the government installation, and that's the whole thing. Like she's like, finally, I get to go out on a mission and get to do something with my time. And, but then they're instantly captured. Like we don't really see it happen. Like it's kind of a shadowy figure comes and knocks them both out, and then they wake up tied up, and that's when the X-Men arrive at this place trying to look for him.
Yeah, to rescue Jubilee and also probably put Iceman back on ice.
Ooh, wow. Nicely done, Mr. 9/11. Nicely done.
Yeah. Thank you. So they get there, and Cyclops is just like, being a petulant teen. Like, what's the point? He's no longer an X-Men. It's bullshit.
Again, Cyclops, like normally your friends have motives, reasons for things that they do. Like maybe you should ask what's going on here instead of just being a colossal dick to your old friends. Like it's so ridiculous for Cyclops to be doing this. But who cares? Because Iceman breaks him and Jubilee out, and the fucking X Factor shows up, and I am so excited to see these guys.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. Also, if he'd asked, like, presumably he care, like, all of the X-Men care about Polaris, right? Like, if he had just been like, X-Men, help, my girlfriend, your friend as well, our old teammate Polaris was kidnapped. Like, the X-Men, this would have been a superhero rescue story, but they just didn't trust him, and Iceman didn't say anything, like a dipshit. So X Factor show up, and this is the 90s run of X Factor. So we have Quicksilver, Magneto's son, and Super Speedster. Multiple Man, who when he is exposed to kinetic energy, he multiplies into a copy of himself. Strong Guy, who when he is exposed to kinetic energy, gets bigger and stronger. Havoc, who is Cyclops' brother, and shoots cool circle beams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's a really, really phenomenal fight.
Yeah, this is great. Cyclops and Havoc kind of circle around one another, and Cyclops is just instantly, "I don't like your attitude, boy."
Yeah,
like it's really
having a rough,
bad.
like couple episodes. He's very pissed.
And of course, when they start shooting their beams at each other, nothing happens, which is kind of what you expect from them being brothers. But the show has not mentioned that yet. I guess they just expect us to know that or be curious about it.
Well, they have mentioned it, Jeremy. Like they mentioned it 1,000 times. We talked about that during the Phoenix thing too. Like it's been established with Black Tom Cassidy.
Absolutely.
It's been exposed. It's been with. That's all the
forgetting
season has been. Like, are you under some kind of curse? Like, how do you keep forgetting that? Like, it's all this season has done. Like, you have the same thing the writers have, like some kind of, like very specific fungal infection or something that like.
I can only remember 2 episodes of the X-Men at one time, Gary. That's all my mind allows for. So right after Havoc and Cyclops don't do anything to one another, Beast and Wolfsbane, who we actually forgot to mention in our lineup, Wolfsbane is Arya Stark is playing her in the movie, in the New Mutants movie. Yeah,
that's right. Cool.
Very excited about that. But Beast and her fight, and that's a really fun thing. Jubilee and Quicksilver pair up, and I really like that Quicksilver kind of runs at her, and she does her fireworks powers, and she's like, "I got one."
Yeah, she blinds him because
she caught a fish for the first time. It was really great.
The way to fight Quicksilver would be to do something that just affects everything, so it doesn't matter where he's at. Mm-hmm. And then a Wolverine and Multiple Man fight, which is great. I've always liked Multiple Man.
Yes, absolutely.
Super cool. It's a really good fight, but they're just not getting anywhere. Iceman is fighting Strong Guy as well.
Yeah, I think I left that out of the notes, but yeah. Absolutely. They're kind of everything's kind of a stalemate if the X-Men aren't losing a little bit, and that's when Professor Xavier kind of beams into their minds like, "Hey, you have to change your tactics. You need to switch it up," and that's where they start kind of switching off and teaming up on certain people, and then just like. For once, just rock. Like the X-Men are just badasses right here, Gary. Like it's so much fun, and the animation is good, and like like they're doing cool animation tricks and fight. Like multiple people are fighting other multiple people at the same time, and there's trade offs. It's really fun to watch.
And previous to this, X Factor was doing the same thing, so we got to watch like the X Factor guys who we don't usually get to see do a bunch of cool shit as well. So everyone's real competent, and they're all good guys. Like it's really fun to watch in that like Captain America Civil War kind of way.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's using their powers. That's the big thing. It's like a lot of times the X-Men are just like punching somebody. I'm like, you have eye beams. Come on.
Stop punching.
Once the fight kind of goes back and forth and X-Men are starting to come out on top, Lorna Dane and Forge show up. And we've seen Forge before, but only in the far-flung future, in Bishop's future. So this is current day Forge, and him and Lorna explain that they're actually a new mutant team that's working directly for the government to take care of mutant affairs. And boy, is Xavier pissed about this. He's like, I work for the government all the time, and you haven't told me shit. What's going on here?
And nobody let me know. So he's really mad, and this like would be such a cool thing to pay off. Like it's just like, oh, the government is keeping secrets from the X-Men. I don't know if X Factor ever show up again, but it makes me want the show where they do. Like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. style serialized show where this would actually be like foreshadowing to stuff that happens later.
Mm-hmm. Or to set up for like the inevitable spin-off show, like instead of X-Men, we have X Factor, right? Like I would watch the hell out of that.
If there's like a backdoor pilot for an X Factor show.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It worked. Network executives from the early 1990s.
Go back in time and change your plans. It worked on us. This was such a cool like little X-Files. Like, man, there's more to the government than like we thought. There's more like kind of intrigue to this. That just never pays off. It's a cool moment just to have like some of the wind taken out of Xavier's sails, but it just doesn't end up becoming part of the plot anymore. But of course the nice thing is they stop fighting at this point because of the insane plan, which is that Laura got recruited by them, or Lorna. They trashed his apartment to like make him not look for her. Like let's make it look like a kidnapping superhero. And then you won't go do superhero shit, as opposed to making it like a Dear John letter or something like that. Like, pretend to break up with him. And now Lorna is just in love with Havoc. Yeah. There's a really heartbreaking moment where like she's talking. Iceman's like, man, I was so worried about you, and she just sees that like off camera a crate fell on Havoc, and she flips out. And it's really
runs
sad.
over there. Havoc, Alex. It's super sad. Like I feel bad. I feel real bad for Bobby because Homegirl should have just broke up with him. Like just own up to it and be like, I don't want to like, and she does explain a little bit like, hey, I wanted to do this superhero stuff and you were all about living the civilian life and I wanted to do more. And I felt like, so I faked my own kidnapping and left you.
Baby, when you met me, you knew my first love was accounting. It's never going to change. But it's pretty tragic, and it kind of like, we were kind of clowning on Iceman not explaining, things earlier, and maybe he's just kind of embarrassed. It's just like, she left, he couldn't protect her. Like, there's matters of the heart at play.
Sure,
so maybe it makes sense for him to not fess up in front of noted high school bully Cyclops, that never gets resolved. At no point does like Cyclops be like, I'm sorry about this,
You always made excuses for him. You'd never let the rest of us get away with half the things he did. I'm not surprised Drake's gone bad. He's a renegade.
It's just so weird that like it never actually resolves that Cyclops is such a dick. Like you expect like him and Iceman to be like, Cyclops to be like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I recently lost my love too. Like I get it. But no, he's just like he's petulant asshole Cyclops during this entire season, it feels like.
And this feels like a good time for Cyclops to be what he is, which is a leader. And and he's just so wrapped up in his own bullshit that it never happens, which is kind of disappointing. Yeah,
a real bummer. But it was a very cool thing. It hints at this kind of intrigue. The stuff with Bobby is a good story. I like the suggestions of the X-Men, not just their history, but also the world outside them. That there are other superhero teams that are kind of affiliated with this, and that the government, they don't share everything with the X-Men. Like there are still secrets the government is keeping.
Exactly. And hey, X Factor is always a good time to watch them use their powers. I mean, how cool is Strong Guy? Like with those glasses, man. Like Strong Guy is the coolest in the world.
Strong Guy is very cool. I've always had a real soft spot for Quicksilver. I like Quicksilver. Multiple Man is great. It's kind of like on any team where like Wolfsbane is a cool character, but when Wolfsbane is the least interesting, like Forge's power is that he just like can make super machines. Like he has this like fundamental, understanding of technology. Lorna Dane is Magneto. They all have like cool fucking powers. It's very fun to watch them, just in the kind of banging your action figures together kind of way. It just works. It makes me want to start reading that. Yeah.
Wasn't there a comic book where Multiple Man had to track down one of his multiples that had gone rogue?
Well, I'm glad you asked. There is the Multiple Man kind of reboot called Madrox.
That's what it is.
David did as well, and it's excellent.
Yes, absolutely it is.
They eventually become it relaunches X Factor as kind of a noir thing that like I think other people liked a little bit more than me. But the actual Madrox series is wonderful because the idea is when he was like paralyzed because he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, he sent out different doubles to go live different lives. Like, what would it be like to be a monk? What would it be like to be a lawyer? What would it be like to do these things? And then absorb them because he gets their memory when he absorbs them back. And he did that, and one of them didn't want to come back. And it's like a hunt for this rogue part of himself. It's really cool. It's a really, really good miniseries and is recommended. It's like 2006 or 2007. It's super good.
I'm sure it's on Marvel Unlimited at this point. In fact, I'll probably go look for that tonight to see if I can go find it and read it. So,
yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I would love to see more of this. I think we do get some more cameos from kind of like X-Men related teams, but I would like this much more frequently, I think.
Are you ready to get back into the Savage Land with the next couple of episodes?
No, I'm not. But we're not recording those now, which is great. So
yes, thank God we don't have to talk about them now. We're going to record them later for episode number 19. So,
yep,
just dodge that Savage Land bullet. If you guys want to keep up with this, the listeners out there want to keep up with the show, go check out daysoffuturecast.com/schedule. That's where we're posting which episodes of the show we're covering on the episodes of the podcast and when those are coming out. Like I said, the season order is all mixed up, so just do your best. I'm sorry. It's impossible to keep straight. So have fun with that.
We will guide you.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. Go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv if you would like to support the show and support the network. We don't just do this podcast. Gary does like 18 other podcasts, video games, music, movies, TV shows, books. They kind of run the gamut over at Duckfeed TV. So go check that out. Are you restructuring your Patreon now or in a couple of weeks? When does that happen?
Sometime in June. I don't know exactly when this will land, but just keep an eye on social media stuff, and we'll have announced it.
But no matter what, a few dollars a month will get you access to Slack, which is a very, very cool place to hang out with, as well as get you early access to episodes. So if you want to listen to this before any of the other dumbasses on the internet, you can. Just kidding. You're not dumbasses if you don't support the show.
No, you're great.
Everyone's
blame
great
it on the
that
wine.
listens to this.
It's all good. Blame it on the wine. And sorry, one real quick thing, and I trust Jeremy's editing skills implicitly. If anything sounds weird in this episode, it's because we were having terrible Skype problems. And then I had to interrupt recording like a bunch of times because of just scheduling things. I'm going on a big vacation. So, if you notice, if you're like, man, that's kind of a weird thing, be kind, because we had kind of a difficult time with it. So just know that we're aware of shit. Not on purpose. We just had technical difficulties.
Sure.
So I think that's probably about good.
Mm-hmm.
We really do appreciate all the support, ratings, reviews, all those things are great. We do see those and we do like them. So until next time, I think just good night.
Good night. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is where we get some really good footage of the original five. This is
incredible. Oh my god, that is the best Skype glitch has ever been. I hope that came through on something. Dude,
I didn't hear anything. What'd you get?
It went this is where we get footage of the original. A 5, 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 and it went on forever. It's so good.